Big Sills! Welcome to the National Football Show. Appreciate all. It is playoff week. How you feeling? How you feeling? These are some of the best weeks of football that you have all year when it comes to NFL. Wild card, divisional, and conference championship games are always the best. They are always the best. How you feeling about your respected teams? If I'm the Eagles, I am very interested in these games this weekend. And if I'm Eagle fans, I'm even more interested in these games because you're really not going to know who you're going to play until Monday night. The way it should play out, you play the Bucs at Lincoln Financial. You're going to play the Bucs. Oh. You're going to play the Bucs and Tom Brady in the divisional round. How you feeling about that? Good or bad? You're going to play Tom Brady. I don't think the Cowboys are going to beat the Buccaneers. I don't think they're going to. Absolutely not. Seattle's not winning that game. They are not winning. All of the division winners will win, which means you will play Tom Brady. Woohoo! Whoa, baby. Tom Brady. Tom Brady is going to be your opponent. Okay, we move on. We're going to talk about that game here in a minute. So it looks like, according to all sources of Big Sills, Howie Roseman is going to be the NFL Executive of the Year. How you feel about that? Howie's going to win Executive of the Year, validating that 3-year contract extension that they gave him at the beginning of the season and in the offseason so that he can now have that little trophy on his desk. Executive of the Year. Tell you what, you better win the Super Bowl now. Expectations on this football team, Executive of the Year, maybe Coach of the Year, Owner of the Year. Like I said the other day, man, okay? Like I said the other day, this is either going to be one of the most iconic moments in Eagle history or it's going to be a turd burger. Xander's like, I'm not the biggest Howie fan on the planet, but I think he earned this award this year. He did. I'll tell you why he earned the award, and I agree with you. I do think Howie deserved it, okay? Here, I've never seen more acquisitions pan out. I've never seen anything like that. Go back to your dream team. Remember when you guys started acquiring all those players? That thing was a train wreck. How many years did we watch what Washington used to do by bringing all those veteran guys in? It was a train wreck. Raiders were notorious for doing all that, right? Every single guy just about, outside of Robert Quinn, okay? And Robert Quinn still has potential to make an impact if he's on the active roster, okay? If he's on the active roster, he still has a shot to have some impact in the postseason. Remember something about Khalil Mack last year, or was it Khalil Mack? It was Von Miller. Von Miller didn't really have enormous impact until he got into the postseason. So Robert Quinn could be Von Miller this year. I'm not saying he will, but maybe. You did surrender a 4th-round pick for him. So it's still out there potentially for him to make some kind of impact. But I will say this, man. Howie hit on everybody. Hassan Reddick has been who do you think has been a bigger acquisition for the Eagles this year? A.J. Brown or Hassan Reddick? AJ or Han? Dude, you were last in sacks last year or something like that, right? What'd you have, 25? You got 70 this year. That's 7 sacks. It was a train wreck a year ago. AJ, I agree. I think AJ was the acquisition And I agree with you 100%. I think AJ, but boy, I'll tell you what, Hassan Reddick has had an absolutely spectacular year. He really has. Kudos to him. I think he's one of the top 3 guys for the Defensive Player of the Year. But boy, I'll tell you what, Hassan Reddick had a great year. He had an absolutely spectacular year. Congratulations to the NFLPA's All-Pro Philadelphia Eagle guys. Kelsey's on it. Lane Johnson's on it. Darius Slay. We'll go over the entire team a little bit later on. We're power-packed again. The Players Association members get to vote on this. So this is a Players Award. I'm a little surprised at Aaron Donald being on there. But then again, Donald only played 11 games. You know what's funny about that? So Aaron Donald could be an all-pro, play 11 ball games. Jalen Hurts misses 2 games, and he's out of the running for the MVP. I think you've got to be standard across. I would never put Aaron Donald on that all-pro team because he missed ball games. I clearly would have put Javon Hargrave. He had a better season by far than him. Hargrave outplayed Aaron Donald this year. I don't think that's a debate. I have a question that I need help on, though. I want to transition into this. I got asked a question today by a radio station in Chicago about Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson this weekend versus the LA Chargers. And Doug's done a miraculous job. Can you help me answer this? If Doug Peterson had benched Carson Wentz sooner, would Doug still be here? If he had benched Carson sooner, would Doug Peterson still be the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles? It's just a question. I mean, I don't know how much of a debate it is, but if he had benched him, did you see, too, the owner, after he clinched the division title, Jeffrey Lurie sent him a text message congratulating him, saying it's not a surprise? No, the relationship was fractured. What relationship? The GM head coach relationship? Probably so. Yes, he would have gotten at least two more wins. No, Howie wants all to say Doug wasn't with that. I'm more in the belief that I think the relationship was too fractured and the owner had to step in. I think that's why the owner stepped in New England between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and he chose Belichick instead of Brady. And that's why Tom went to Tampa. Bob Kraft, he stuck with the head coach. So it's a little bit where the owner, you see, sometimes is needed to step in. I think Jeffrey Lurie picked Howie over Doug. As much as he respects Doug, is that fair? That the owner respects, the owner had a better feeling. Howie's going to be the executive. Watch this. I want to show you with the decision that Jeffrey Lurie had to make, how tough it was. So you got a general manager who's going to be the executive of the year. You got a head coach who could win the coach of the year. And both those guys, you had to step in between. This is almost like Jimmy Johnson kind of stuff. You had to step in between a coach of the year and the general manager of the year and pick one. I got to tell you, man, the owner really must have had a tough decision to make here because both guys are very successful. I don't know if the owner of the Eagles picked wrong or right. Both these guys are great at what they do. Doug Peterson is the real deal. He is the real deal. Howie is a hell of a general manager, encompassing everything. The macro of being a GM. Look, is he a great personnel guy? I'm suspect on that. I don't think he is. I think he's okay. I think he's better in free agency than he is in the NFL draft. And it's played itself out. He's a better professional evaluator of NFL talent than he is college talent. My opinion. But when it comes to the macro, he's a really good GM. He's a really good GM. But can you imagine being the owner? You had to pick between Doug. Dude, Doug has validated himself being in Philly with what he did today. You know, it was always this, that how he built the team, you know, was there really good players? How good was the coaching staff? How good was Doug as a head coach? Everyone had, you don't know what a coach is going to, look at Belichick. He bombed in Cleveland. No one had any idea, and he had to go there and clean up Urban Meyer's mess. Doug's validated his legacy in Philadelphia with what he did this year. He validated it. Nobody could ever say this, Doug Peterson was a bad coach. Not true. Delivered a Super Bowl. Delivered a Super Bowl with a lot of controversy and adversary. What was in the locker room, all the things that were going, all those dynamics because of the quarterback. Doug did a hell of a job. The owner chose Howie, though. Would you rather choose the GM or the head coach? If I had to pick, okay, I'd rather have the coach than Howie Roseman. Here's why. If you don't have the right head coach, I don't care what kind of talent you have on the field, you're not going to win anything. How many times have we seen coaches win with lesser talent? We see it all the time. This team right here is run by the general manager almost exclusively. And I still think that's some of the issues on why certain things look the way they do and how they act. The head coach works for Howie. The elite head coaches in the league, the GM works with the head coach or works with them at least. Okay? And by the way, both are successful. Both are successful. And I'm not saying Howie hasn't validated his 3-year contract. But if Howie has validated his 3-year contract, Doug Peterson has validated his legacy in Philly with what he did in Jacksonville this year. He's complete. And in the process, he saved a franchise quarterback. He saved a franchise quarterback. I mean, Doug Peterson has done a hell of a job. And he put a coaching staff together. Put all those people that he had almost in Philly, and when he was up in Green Bay, brought them down to Jacksonville, and they've changed the entire dynamic down there. Hey, real quick, I know we'll get to that a little bit later. We'll talk about the games this weekend. Let's get over to the topics now. Jalen Hurts. Remember when I say this to you. Legacies are built in the postseason, not during the regular season. That's when legacies are built. Your legacy is not built on what you do during the regular season. You first have to prove you could play in this league. And a lot of these quarterbacks that are going into the postseason, and some of them for the first time, you're going to be gauged on what you do in these games. Aaron Rodgers, as great of a football player as he is, thank God he's won a Super Bowl. Okay? Thank God he's won a Super Bowl. Do you understand that this guy's been beaten by the likes of Jared Goff? I consider that was a playoff game against Detroit this past Sunday. He's been beaten by Jimmy Garoppolo. These are just like some of the people that he's been beaten by this year and in the postseason over the last recent memory. People look at Rodgers and go, bro, you can't beat guys like Brock Purdy and these dudes. Your legacy gets a little dented and a little stained. Look at Dak Prescott. What kind of legacy do you think Dak Prescott has? What is Dak Prescott's legacy? How do you see Dak going into this postseason? I think he's got the most to prove of any quarterback going into the postseason. Of all the quarterbacks, all 14 quarterbacks. By the way, we've ranked the playoff quarterbacks. We're going to do that next. We've ranked all the quarterbacks. What does Jalen have to do to start his legacy? He hasn't had one yet. And the last playoff appearance was not very good. What does he have to do? Because right now, I'm not paying that guy $45 million. You go right ahead and do it. I'm not going to have a conversation for the next 3 hours on $45 million. I'm not doing it. Because I don't care what he did. He's not the talent that you see with guys like Herbert and Lawrence and Burrow and Allen and those other guys. He's not. He's not those guys. He's a different dude. You see him through a different telescope than you do those other guys. By the way, the end of the day, when it comes out of the funnel, there's still 12 wins, 13 wins, 14 wins. That's got to count for something, and I agree. I agree with you. That's got to count for something. What does Jalen have to do to start his legacy here? How far does he have to go to consider this a successful year? Is it a successful year right now? Sure, a lot of wins, but I've seen Dak do this. I've seen Dak Prescott win a lot of ball games. And at the end of the day, it didn't matter. Dak's won a lot of games. A lot of 12-win seasons since he's been the starting quarterback in Dallas. It's led to nothing. Dak had a great year last year. Great year statistically. What does he have to do? Dak's got to go to the NFC title game at least this year just to make people feel good about him. I think if Dak Prescott gets bounced, you've got to have serious conversations about whether or not he's the guy. And the reason you have that conversation is because of the money. And by the way, the only guy he seemingly has success against is the Eagles. He's 8-3 versus the Eagles. This guy had the only team he really has monster success against is Philly. He's like the Philly killer. Sills, if we win a playoff game, he did something Wentz never did. So then he's Donovan McNabb, right? Eagles finish as the number one pass rusher, number one pass defense in the NFL for the first time since 91, allowing 180 yards passing. So what? Look at the shitty quarterbacks you played. You think anybody was going to throw for 500 yards against you? Really? Who? And like I showed you, every time you play against good quarterbacks, they eat you up. Everyone. I gave you the stats for the last, since week 11. They ate you up. Bums ate you up. He's no Philly killer. Mask, he's 8-3 versus the Eagles. How's that not killing him? 8-3 versus Philly. How can you deny that record? He's 8-3 versus you. He owns you. Pink slip it over to him. Dak owns the Eagles. That's a fact. He owns them. Okay? No, my only point was, I think you guys are missing the point here. The only team he has success against is Philly. And his postseason stinks. He stinks in the postseason. He can't do that in the playoffs. Neither can Jalen. Neither can Jalen. And don't tell me he will, because that's potential. He hasn't done it, you mean. Okay? Jalen Hurts hasn't done shit for legacy yet. Nothing. Zero. This is the time when all of these guys are going to either make hay or not, or people are going to look at them in a different light. When you look at Patrick Mahomes, he's not gauged on the regular season anymore. He's gauged on what he's going to do in the postseason. Nobody looks at Josh Allen and Joe Burrow and talks about the regular season. They're now talking about the second season. You guys are still hanging your hat on Jalen in the regular season. Right now, that means shit. Means nothing. If the last couple of years Aaron Rodgers has had dents put in his legacy, Jalen has no legacy right now. Zero. Justin Herbert, zero. He's a better talent. Still zero. Josh Allen, zero. Now, I told you this before about Allen. Josh Allen's in the first year of his big contract now, $43 million he's making. He's right on pace. The conference championship game will be at a neutral site most likely. So he's done his job. Legacy. I say, Jalen, for this guy to be, and I'll make this point to you. I don't think the Philadelphia Eagles will address his contract if he gets bounced in the divisional round against Brady. If that team gets bounced in the divisional round, all bets are off. They won't address it. They'll start talking about it as they get closer to training camp in July. Other than that, never address it. And clutch will come to them. And they'll go like this. No. Now, I do not think that they'll draft a quarterback in the first round, but I do think they'll draft a quarterback. And if Jalen gets bounced, I could see them drafting a quarterback. You know who I could see them drafting? Stetson Bennett for a backup. I think he'd be a great backup in Philly. Guy's one like that. He's 25 years old. You could plug and play him. I think he is a great backup quarterback. I'd love to have that guy on my roster. Draft him in the 4th round, 5th round, somewhere in there. I'm good with him. The Eagles are going to draft a quarterback because Minshew's leaving. And how he's going to want to pay his backup, because he's got to pay, if he does address it, his big quarterback, he's got to pay him. You're going to want the guy on a rookie deal. And a 4th and 5th rounder costs you nothing, maybe $1 million. Bennett won't be there at 10. I'm not drafting that guy in the first 4 rounds. You misunderstood me. I'm not drafting Stetson Bennett in the first round. I'm drafting him in the 4th or 5th round if he's there. I'm not drafting that guy in my premium first 3 picks, my first 3 rounds. That's not going to happen. I need other parts of my team to try to get younger. They need to get younger in some places. Dak is another Tony Romo. That's a really great comparison. That's a really great comparison. I think if Tannehill can hit AJ, anybody can do it. Well, hey, AJ, though, you've got to admit, he's had career year this year. And he's had career numbers this year. Bennett's a 6th rounder? Probably. Something like that, 4, 5, 6. I could totally see that. And you'll draft him. I'll tell you what, I'd rather have Stetson Bennett than Ian Book as my number 3 guy. You know, I'd rather have him than Ian Book. Who's Ian Book? What, because he went to Notre Dame? Cowboys. I hate to say it, but Philly has the advantage over my Cowboys in the playoffs or the Niners. They get 13 days of rest. That doesn't always necessarily mean and translate into wins. Andy Reid is an amazing coach after a bye. Okay? Sills, does Howie keep Sanders? No. Dan, please look and see one great team 49ers beat. What's the great team the Eagles beat? What's the difference between the Niners? I told you, I don't think there's any difference between both teams. I think the Niners have more talent. And I heard Barrett saying that they have a guy to neutralize Nick Bosa, not a 70%, you don't. Lane Johnson versus the best defensive player in the NFL? I disagree with that. 100% Nick Bosa? 100% Nick Bosa versus a guy who needs surgery in the offseason. You think that's a fair matchup? I don't. Common sense would tell you that's not a fair matchup. The linebacker, Fred Warner, is 10 times the player. Anything that the Eagles have. Your corners are better. The safety for them is really good. So stop talking about what Jalen won't do and start talking about what he can do and the benefits if he is successful. Fair. Well, GT, if he wins the Super Bowl, it's a $50 million contract. There's no getting around it. There's no denying that. He wins the Super Bowl, all bets are off. Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl, he gets $50 million. GT, is that good? Okay. He'll be the only Philadelphia Eagle quarterback from start to finish to win a Super Bowl. In the history of the football team in the Super Bowl era. I don't know. Okay? All bets are off. He gets $50 million. Well, what if he wins a playoff game? A great question. I'll address it. But I wouldn't pay him and give him a contract extension. Not me. I'm not ready yet. Okay? You want Dak Prescott again? How do you know Jalen Hurts is not Dak Prescott? I don't know if he's going to be better than Dak Prescott or Kyler Murray. I don't know, and you don't know. That's why legacy. That's what I'm talking about here. I think there's a lot on the line here for this kid as he goes into the playoffs. He's not done anything that warrants a contract of that magnitude. You really want to get into a Kyler Murray deal? You don't know he's not Kyler Murray. You have no idea. Wentz didn't win a playoff game. It's still you gave him the money. Didn't you learn your lesson? GT, that's a great take. Didn't you learn your lesson? Why don't you let him win something first? You gave the other guy a contract, and it panned out to be nothing. It was a turd burger. I mean, am I wrong? Listen, all I'm here, I just said it to you guys in both sides of the argument. Jalen Hurts wins the Super Bowl. He's getting a $50 million contract extension. The Eagles can't get away from that. He wins a playoff game and they get bounced in the NFC Championship game. That's still a pretty damn good ride, man. That's still a pretty good ride. I'd still have to talk about it. But Jalen right now has a good season, and that's it. No, home field too. You got to add that to the conversation. You've got to add that to it. I completely agree. You got to add that to the conversation. Okay? Home field advantage. You won the division title. It's playoffs 2 years in a row. I mean, you know. Hurts is legit. We'll find out. Again, that's theory. That's theory. I'll tell you what, against the Giants, he didn't look very good. Until he gets back to that form. And you know what's funny about that? After the Seattle game, Carson Wentz never looked the same. He never looked the same. After the Seattle game, he never looked the same. We'll find out. Sounds like one of those good problems, Joseph. We'll see. A lot of these look, I can't tell you how down I am on Dak Prescott. Dude, I like the guy. I like the talent. But, bro, I hate the production in the postseason. He's just not good. Sills, does the Eagle coaching staff coach more aggressive than conservative in the playoffs? You are who you are, man. That goes into the next one here. We're going to get to that here in a minute. It's a great question. I keep hearing people say, well, Jonathan Gannon's going to have to be more aggressive. No, he's not. He's not going to be any more aggressive than he was the last 2 years in Philly. What would make you think he's all of a sudden – so you're gonna trust Jonathan Gannon to blitz Brady and put your guys on an island against Tom Brady and Mike Evans? Why in the world would you go out of who you are to play against that guy if it lines up that way? So you're going to blitz Brady. It's the remedy to being upset when you do that. I'd rather make Tom Brady go 15 plays because that team has made mistakes all year. Illegal procedure, offsides, holding. That's the fastest way for the Bucs to beat you, is to blitz Brady. Why would you blitz Brady? You wouldn't blitz Brady. You wouldn't. Make that team. I'm going to tell you how to beat the Eagles. And I know people watch our show from other football teams, and I'm going to tell you how to beat the Eagles here in a minute. I would make Tom Brady and that offense and that football team go 15 plays against my defense if I'm Jonathan Gannon and Nick Sirianni. The Bucs have been a train wreck all year. It's why they're 8-9. They're going to make a mistake in between the 20, somewhere, offsides, holding, illegal procedure. It's happened all year. Play the trends. Blitzing Tom Brady in the playoffs. Right? Like he won't read that and pick that up. That's how you get your ass beat. That's how you turn yourself into Marty Schottenheimer. 4-14 in the postseason is by overthinking this thing. Don't overcook it. The Eagles need to get healthy. Don't overcook it. You're not that talented as coaches. You're not that talented. Okay? Don't overcook it. Hey, you might be able to overcook it versus a guy like Brock Purdy. But you can't overcook it when you're playing against Brady, maybe even Dak. That's why those quarterbacks put up these high percentages, because they try to overcook some shit against them guys. Andy Dalton was 88% against you. Be smart in this thing. See, I think the Philadelphia Eagle coaching staff, in my opinion, is the problem here. I don't have a problem with Jalen. I don't have a problem with anybody on that football team. That football team is very talented. They played their asses off inside of a weak defensive scheme. They really did. 70 sacks is a testament to that. But every time you play against quarterbacks that are worth the shit, they crush you. I keep hearing people go, well, they finished number one in pass defense. Then why, since week 11, has the average quarterback thrown for 73% against you? How's that possible? So when you look at those numbers, you see that? Boy, I sure don't. And the success of the quarterbacks has gone on for 2.5 months. You can throw numbers at me all you want. I'll throw quarterbacks on what they actually did in a game against you. I'm going to blitz Brady. Okay. Yeah, because Jonathan Gannon is spectacular as a blitzing defensive coordinator like Jim Johnson or Schwartz. Sure. Okay. Yeah. Looks like Cleveland now is interviewing Jim Schwartz. And from what I'm hearing, Jim Schwartz is going to be the new defensive coordinator in Cleveland. Andrew Berry was going to hire him, and he's going to be the new defensive coordinator in Cleveland. Mark my words when I said that. Yeah, Jim Schwartz is going to be the D coordinator in Cleveland as they revamp that coaching staff too. This is going to be an interesting postseason. Let me get to the rankings. I've ranked the postseason quarterbacks as we get ready for the postseason this weekend. Wild card weekend, divisional round, conference title, and of course the Super Bowl. I have ranked all 14 quarterbacks. I get asked to do a lot of these lists from Yardbarker and all these other places, and I get asked like to put these things all in order here. So let me start at 14. Obviously, Tua's not playing for the Miami Dolphins. So I got Skylar Thompson. I never heard of him. I have no idea who he is. I don't even know the school he played at. He's at number 14. I've got Geno Smith at 13. I want to see what Geno does in the postseason. I've got Dak Prescott 11th. Dak, you got to win, dude. 2023. Rent's due. Okay? Rent's due, dude. Hey, Dak, rent's due. I am not going to pay you another freaking cent in 2023 regular season if you go into this postseason and you look like you did against the Washington Commanders in the final game of the year. I can't have that, man. Number 10, the greatness of Kirk Cousins. Thank God that game's at 4:30 Eastern. Because if it was any later, man, I don't know. I think Minnesota may get bounced by the Giants in that game. At 9, I got the greatness of Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy at 9. Oh, my God. Number 8, I got an asterisk here. I have no idea what Lamar Jackson's doing, so I'm putting him low here because I'm not sure he's starting. Could be Tyler Huntley. I have no idea. So I got an asterisk with Jackson at 8. So Skylar Thompson at 14, Geno at 13, Daniel at 12, Dak at 11, Cousins at 10, Purdy at 9, Jackson at 8, and I'm ranking the playoff quarterbacks. Number 7, what a great year Trevor Lawrence has had. A great-looking franchise quarterback. By the way, I got asked the question, too. Jalen Hurts or Trevor Lawrence? Come on. Are you kidding? Trevor Lawrence is dude, that guy, he's the guy I thought he was going to be when he came out of Clemson, the number 1 overall pick. That guy is a spectacular talent. When you watch him play the last 2.5 months, there's been a quarterback better playing than him. He's fast. He's good. Guy throws just dimes. What a great football player, man. Jalen Hurts over Trevor Lawrence. I don't think so. Number 6, Justin Herbert. Guy's got to win too, man. Hey, by the way, who do you think has the quarterback advantage in that Chargers and Jacksonville game? Who has the advantage? Who has the advantage? The Chargers or the Jags? If you had to pick between Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence, who would you take? I think the Chargers are favored going into this game. I think it's a 3-point favor for the Chargers going into the Jags game. If you had to pick between who's got the quarterback advantage? Jags. Toss up. I think Mike Williams is playing. Jags. Wow. So the Jags, man, and I think a lot of Justin Herbert. I'm picking the Jags 26-17. Dank, I may be with you, man. I don't know. I mean, I'll say it one more time like I did yesterday. I think Brandon Staley loses that job. I think Sean Payton's the head coach of the Chargers. I think he takes the Charger job. Why would you want Arizona or Denver? You still got Payton up there in Denver as a general manager. And in Arizona, you would get full autonomy because the GM's out. So Arizona kind of makes sense, maybe. Coaching will win that game. Xander says, give me the Jags. Whew. Man, Doug's on fire. Lawrence is on fire. We'll get to that game a little bit later. Hey, I really like Trevor Lawrence. Number 5, the greatness of Jalen Hurts. Hurts is number 5 in the rankings of the quarterbacks going into the postseason. He's hurt. I don't know who I'm going to get. Am I going to get Batman or Robin? Not sure yet. I get Brady at 4. Brady's always got to be in the top 5. Sorry. I think there's a new rule for the National Football Show and Big Sills. Brady's got to be in every top 5 list when it comes to postseason football, or it's not really a list. You know what I mean? I don't care if Brady has 17 interceptions and 2 touchdown passes. He's got to be in everything because of what his accomplishments are and who he is. I got Joe Burrow, number 3. God, this was hard. I got Josh Allen, number 2. Patrick Mahomes, 1. Here is the rankings for the quarterbacks going into the 2022-2023 NFL postseason. Skylar Thompson at 14. Geno Smith at 13. Daniel Jones, 12. Dak, 11. Kirk Cousins, 10. Brock Purdy, 9. Jackson, 8. Trevor Lawrence, 7. Justin Herbert, 6. Jalen Hurts, 5. It's pretty high. Tom Brady, 4. Joe Burrow, 3. Josh Allen, 2. And Patrick Mahomes, 1. There's your list. Digital Laughs at the reigning AFC champion, Joe Burrow, who's 3-1 in the postseason. Excuse me, what's Jalen's record? Hey, Digital Junkyard. And by the way, he did that in Shittsville, Cincinnati. The Bengals and their quarterback are 3-1 in the postseason. He's got to have the greatest postseason record in the history of the Bengals already. He's 3-1. Joe Burrow's 3-1. This guy's got more wins than Wentz. This guy's got more wins than Wentz and Jalen Hurts combined. How you doing, baby? Joey B. What a great quarterback. Joe Burrow should be second probably, but he might be in 7-1 after this playoffs. Dude, I got a feeling the Bengals are going to, I don't know, man. I think the Bengals might take care of business this year too. Joe Burrow's got a lot of Tom Brady in him, man. It just looks like Tom Brady when Tom Brady was 25. It just looks that way. Dude, the NFL is really set up with really fine young quarterbacks. Look at these fine young quarterbacks. Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Brady, Herbert, Lawrence, Lamar Jackson. I mean, these are great quarterbacks, great young quarterbacks. Guys who throw the ball, man. Burrow's more athletic than Brady? That's pretty true. That's pretty true, man. Really true. Brady's not young. I didn't say Brady. I said that he looks like a young Tom Brady the way he plays. That's how Joe Burrow looks like Brady. Don't forget Dimes Jones. Actually, Dimes Jones has had a hell of a year. Maniac goes, you skipped Hurts. No, I didn't. I didn't skip him. That's not my kind of quarterback. You know that, Maniac. Don't start trouble here. You know I don't go with dual threat unless he's Allen. Because Allen throws for 4,000 yards. You know that, dog. Hey, Sells, he did have 2,000 yard wide receivers this year. That's fair enough. That's fair enough. And could have had a tight end with 1,000 yards. Yeah, man. And him not 4K. It's crazy. I mean, you have 2 wide receivers on your team. The rest of them, there's really no wide receivers on that team but 2 dudes. The rest of them, you could put anybody there. No, but how many catches did Quez Watkins and Zach Pascal have combined? 20? Right? You said Lamar too. Well, he has won a unanimous MVP, so I got to kind of put that in there. You know, he did lead the NFL in passing touchdowns. So I kind of had to put him there, you know, and he's 25. He's the same age as Hurts, I think, 24, 25. I think actually Lamar may be younger or as old as Jalen Hurts. He has won an MVP, you know. I mean, that kind of matters. And he did lead the NFL in touchdown passes. So I think, you know, you got to kind of put him in that conversation. Okay. You did accidentally say Brady in the young comment. No. I said, look at all the, maybe I did. Congratulations. All you do is troll. That's not true. I give you important intel. Like, let's do this. Eagles beat the Bengals. Not happening. Not happening. With that great coaching staff of yours. My wife's women's rugby team has a better coaching staff. Okay? I feel more comfortable with my wife putting together a line out as a rugby coach than Nick Sirianni and his coaching staff going into the postseason. Honest God. Hey, well, you know, Jonathan Gannon has to be aggressive. Okay, yeah. Well, let me know when that happens. Yeah. Okay, let me know. All right, let's be fair here then. Help me out on this. What Eagle players have to perform well in the postseason to be part of the future? Which guys right now have to perform to secure jobs for next year? And remember something. You have 16 free agents. 16. Your football team will be completely different. See, you guys have a one-year window. 1 year window. You don't have – the 17 team was built for 2 years. This is built for 1. How many years do you think this football – Hurts, Slay – that's a great one on Slay. I agree. If Slay has a poor postseason, they could move on from him. I completely agree. That they can move on from him. I think he just turned 32 or 33 in January. Sanders, I think he's gone already. Big Sil's about to say one-hit wonder. Well, dude, it is only built for 1 year. Sills, what 4K plus quarterback and running back that ran for 1,250 yards? Dual threat doesn't throw for 4K. Ever. Oh, except nobody will ever do that. You're never going to see 4K and 1,200 yards rushing. Never in a billion years. Not sustainable. Remember, I keep telling you that. You're a clown. Sirianni's 21-5. I know. So is George Seifert. Goes to Carolina and he sucked. Don't talk to me about records. Quarterbacks make records, not coaches. Look at Bill Belichick. How's he doing up in New England? How's that record up in New England? Was it 4 straight years now? No postseason wins? You know that the Patriots haven't won a postseason since they won the Super Bowl last? They don't have a postseason win since they won the Super Bowl last. That's 4 years ago. Don't talk to me about coaching records. You don't have the quarterback. You're Belichick in Cleveland. You're fired. Step into my office. How you doing? Talk to me about Nick Sirianni. No, he ain't. Nick Sirianni. Yeah, hey, Matt Nagy was the coach of the year 2 years ago. Got blown out last year. Congratulations. Matt LaFleur won 39 games in 3 years. People question whether or not it's him or Rodgers. What do you think it is? What do you think it is? Okay. Sales I meant what? 4K plus QB had a running back that ran for 1,200 yards. I don't think Carr did. Did Carr throw for $4,000? No, they benched him. Did Carr? Because it's got to be either Jacobs, Tannehill. I don't think anybody did. I don't think anyone did this year. I don't think anyone had 4K. I don't think anyone did. Yeah, well, most people, they win games throwing the ball. They don't win games running the ball with their dual threat quarterback. I mean, you run the ball into playoffs and we can run. True. Got to make plays on third down, though, in the air. Brees threw for 5,003 times. He missed the playoffs every time. So you're trying to tell me that Jalen Hurts is better than Drew Brees? Okie dokie. Okie dokie. Here's how you beat the Eagles. How do you think you beat Philly? 2 things. Simple. And I'm putting it out there now because I know the Cowboys, the Niners, John Lynch is a great friend, the Chargers, Duke Tobin's a dear friend in Cincinnati. Ken Dorsey watches the show. Hey, how about Big Sills? Throwing you a little love about 2 months ago that Ken Dorsey's going to interview for the Panther job. He's interviewing this week for the Carolina Panther job. So is Frank Reich, by the way. I think Frank interviews Thursday for the current opening with the Carolina Panthers. 2 ways to beat the Eagles. How do you think that is? What do you think? Defense and running the ball. You don't have to say it out loud, Sills. Stop Jalen Hurts. You see the Giant backups, they played their asses off. Here's how you beat them. It's simple. You got to own the line of scrimmage, which they haven't the last month. They've owned it defensively, but they still get run on. The Giant JV team ran for 135 yards on them. So they're not really effective. They're better. They're not great at stopping the run. If I had to give them a grade for stopping the run, C. They're average. They're average at stopping the run. Okay? They're premier and elite on getting to the quarterback. Here's how you beat Philly, though. Win the clock. Win the clock. Own the line of scrimmages or own one side of the line of scrimmage. Philly beats you by owning both sides of the line of scrimmage. If they do that, they win. If they don't, they lose. Washington won the time of possession, the turnover battle, and they won the line of scrimmage offensively. They didn't really have gaudy numbers, but they owned the clock. If this is how, see, and this is why I don't think Dallas can beat Philly. I don't think they can own either line of scrimmage. I don't. I think Dallas's O-line is good. I think Zach Martin made the Pro Bowl or the All-Pro team. I think he's really good. But I don't think that Cowboy O-line I don't think they can beat the Eagle D-line. And I think the Eagle D-line can beat the Cowboy O-line and vice versa. I think the offensive line of the Eagles can beat the Cowboy D-line. So that matchup for Dallas, Philadelphia is not a good matchup, especially with Jalen getting out in the perimeter. That the Cowboys, that would be an awful matchup for them at Philly too. Okay? Now the matchup that they could win because Veda's back, their linebacker's back, the Bucks got their center back, that game would be closer because what would Gannon do? Remember something, it's not so much about Byron Leftwich being the offensive coordinator. It's Brady. He's a built-in offensive coordinator. And to me, if I were Jonathan Gannon, I'd play the same way that I did a year ago. You got better players. And the Bucks have not had a consistent year any game. Even in that Carolina game when they won the NFC South, they had to do it in the second half. I haven't seen 4 quarters of Buccaneer football this year where I went like this. That was a hell of a game. I haven't seen 4 quarters. They've played sporadically. They played sporadically. 1 quarter here, 2 quarters, 4th quarter. That's why their record's 8-9. That's why it's 8-9. And Xander's right. Brady's laughing at Jonathan Gannon's scheme and watching him on film, for sure. The problem is not Brady. It's the rest of the guys around him. They've made mistakes all year long. All year long, they've made mistakes. Okay? You're not going to get into that kind of game, though, with 49erville. The Niners are prepared to win the same way because you know what that's going to be? That is going to be Ali Frazier. That's going to be, Jonathan Silva. That's going to be something like that versus John Jones. It's going to be iconic because you got 2 football teams that mirror one another. They dominate both lines of the scrimmage. That's going to, if it gets there, you're going to need 2 mouthpieces just to watch that football game because they do a lot alike. And I would probably say that the Eagles, because of Purdy and Jalen, depending on Jalen's health, we're going to know more about Jalen Hurts when Jalen takes the field in the divisional round on if they're going to go to the Super Bowl or not. You can't win the Super Bowl if Jalen Hurts is not healthy and Lane doesn't play. You're not winning it. You'll be beat. You could be beat in the divisional round. You need those 2 guys because you're not the same football team. You're not the same team. If you don't have Lane in the game or he can't finish the game, you're not blocking Nick Bosa. You're not blocking that 49er defense. You're not. Remember something how we're talking here. And I know some of you keep doing this. Sales hater. Are you kidding me? I'm talking about you being in the NFC title game. I'm not talking about you getting beat in week 3 of the NFL here. You're in the NFC title game potentially. That's what we're doing here. You have checked 17 boxes. You know what I would say about the Eagles season this year? If I had to look at everything, there is no team, including the Bengals, including the 49ers, including the Chiefs even, that had a better 17 weeks than the Philadelphia Eagles, even in their losses, even with some of their guys being out. No, you know what? I'll take 16 weeks because I think that Giant game sucked. Couldn't close out the JV team. That was your worst effort of the year. You played down to your competition, and it showed because your starters had to play 60 minutes. That was the first time all year that the Eagles played down to their competition. The Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, they probably played between, and 49ers, 11 to 12, maybe possibly 13 weeks of good ball. I say the Eagles played 16 really good weeks of football. Even in some of those losses. The Eagles are never going to get blown out. They're never going to get blown out. Some of these other teams could because they have deficiencies. Can't run the ball, have a trouble. Look at Dallas. How many people think, watch this. You did, Chris. You came to play every week except for the final week. I had a problem with the final week. But for all the teams in the NFL, The team that came to play and came to work and came to fight every week was the Eagles. There is no getting around that. That's a fact. That's a fact. They came to work every week, pretty much. But watch this. Can you see Dallas getting blown out? Boy, I can. Team runs the ball. They win the time of possession. Team beats them 24-7. Didn't I just watch Washington do that? I could see Dallas getting killed like that. I can't see a 24-7. Like even the Buccaneer team, that would have to be a high shootout for the Bucs to beat the Eagles. Like 33-31 kind of shit. The Bucs are going to have to outscore Philly. Teams are going to have to outscore them. Okay? But teams that establish the run, like San Francisco can, I mean, San Francisco's the team to keep an eyeball on. And you want to know something too? And I say this with respect to the Giants. The Giants are trying to be the Eagles and the Niners. They're trying to resemble those two teams. And the Giants are like the 2021 Eagles. Right before, you guys got all those players. They're going to add a lot of players. I think they're going to keep Daniel Jones too, by the way. Okay, I do. I think they're going to keep him. I don't think they're good. Yeah, of all the teams, there's no question. There's no question Philly showed up every week. I want to hit on the All-Pro team. The best quarterbacks in the NFL today, who are they? What rank? Playoff games this weekend. Also, I want to hit on Howie Roseman. Looks like Howie's going to win the Executive of the Year. And it looks like he's going to be that guy. And he's getting a lot of accolades for what he did. What was his best move this past offseason to put this team in a position to have home field advantage? What is the best move that he's made? I got an idea. I want to hear your ideas. Please do me a favor. Hit the like button. Hour number 2. Keep it here on the National Football Show.